Hello, YouTube. How everyone doing? Okay, been- once again in the news, the same place that George Floyd died at, and so many more. More things keep happening in the same area. It makes any sense? Well, cops falsely accused four young teenagers, and it wasn't even the people that they claimed they was looking for. These are the mothers speaking on it. This is Miss Tanya Gal speaking.
Hi, my name is Tanya Guile. Um, my 12-year-old was arrested as well with the other children. It's heartbreaking to know that you cannot count on law enforcement when you're a minority. Our community deals with this on a regular basis. This is the first time that it's been actually caught on film to be addressed. It should have been addressed long ago. You don't know what to feel or what to think when your child runs in the house terrified with tears running down his face, telling me, Mom, Mom, I was just arrested. I just lost my son in September to law enforcement. He was only 14. So you can imagine what kind of fear my 12-year-old has of law enforcement. But he had the knowledge. He was scared and he ran. But he thought in his head, they're coming to get me if I don't go back. So he had the strength and the power to go back and face the police, knowing what they do, knowing how they treat our children. What if something were to happen in the long run? My children will never be able to count on law enforcement for help for anything because of what race they are. It's hurtful. As a mother, you teach your kids that law enforcement is here to protect and serve, that you can count on them. If anything ever happens, call 911. My children will never be able to do that. Thank you.
Katia Taylor.
You're actually going to hear from Miss Taylor's daughter, who, again, we are not going to name at this time, but she would like to share with you her feelings and how afraid she was.
I was scared and I was just thinking what is gonna happen? I was shaking. I was shaking and I was just so confused of what they was talking about because when they asked us what happened, me and my friend was so confused of what was they talking about because we just had got done eating and I was just so confused of what happened. Mhm.
And before we finish up today, we have Hennepin County Attorney candidate Simon Troutman here with us as well, and he'd like to say a few words.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Simon Troutman. I'm a Richfield City Council member, and I'm running for Hennepin County Attorney. But I'm here today because I'm a friend to so many people here, especially to Sheriff Garraway and community members that experience and have known tragedy and have experienced the profound broken trust between community and law enforcement. And what we have today is an incredible and extraordinary opportunity because even though we are experiencing trauma, we have not experienced tragedy and the loss of life. And what we have right here is an opportunity in a moment not just to reform policy, but to reckon with the brokenness and the bias that exists and the gap of trust that exists between community and law enforcement. And not just to reform a policy, but to actually repair deep structural damage that's been done between law enforcement and between community, between these young people that have been law-abiding, that want to exist in their community and do exist in this community in the way that everybody else should. So I'm here with a heavy heart, but with a glad heart that there was no violence, that this was trauma, but this was not a tragic situation. And I want to encourage every public policymaker, not just to be relieved that a life was not lost, but to take this opportunity to reckon and deeply repair broken relationships. Thank you very much.
That they didn't harm our kids physically, but there's more than one way to kill a person. Emotionally and mentally.
Yeah.
When you do this to our children.
That's right.
And the main thing is as a mother, I just want them to say I'm wrong and I'm sorry. We have this thing going on with law enforcement where just admitting, they would rather say here's a lump sum of money, move on, than to say I was wrong and I'm sorry. First of all, you had the wrong children. And even the children that you were looking for didn't even show that they did anything wrong. But right there is where you should be saying I'm sorry to us mothers instead of trying to justify it and say, oh, we only had them for this amount of time. It doesn't matter if you had them for 5 seconds. You put them in handcuffs and you threw them in the back of a car. So at the end of the day, apology goes a long way. Owning up, taking ownership for your wrongdoings, knowing that there was another way that you could have handled the situation instead of putting the kids in handcuffs and throwing them in the back of your squad car, there was another way to go about that. And saying we messed up goes a long way because we know people make mistakes. We get it. But to not own up to it and to put it off on other things, that is what's even more hurtful and adds to the pain that's already in the community. It's time to own up. It's time to take accountability. It's time to stand up. And that is the only way. That is the only way to build relationships between law enforcement and the community and our children. But we cannot do that until you take the first step. And that's admitting that you were wrong. Thank you.
And one thing I don't want to discount, handcuffs hurt. There's a reason that they handcuff people in the front when they handcuff people, and that wasn't how they handcuffed these children. But there's also no need to use handcuffs at all. These children sat there peacefully, cooperating for over 20 minutes with law enforcement, and they could have continued to do so. They knew these kids.
Sure, Garaway, and you guys know that I'm out here fighting and advocating for families all the time. And so to be put in this predicament, to get that phone call from your child, it's I really can't even put it into words how I felt and how I still feel. I'm still shooken up by it because I was able to get there and demand that they release the children. I don't believe in my heart that they would have released the children had I not shown up when I did. And they did not call me or any of these other mothers to say that they had our children, that they had pat our children down, that they had questioned our children, that they had put our children in handcuffs, that they had put our children in the back of the squad cars. I found out because my son, the oldest of the bunch, had asked, could I, after being in handcuffs and put in the back of the squad car, he asked, can I call my mom? And I think about a conversation that me and Katie had, Katie Wright, Dante Wright's mother. And she said to Shira, I wanted to run to my son on foot. The car didn't seem like it was going fast enough. That is exactly how I felt. Jamar Clark's sister was dropping me off at home from Dante Wright's event. And I when he called me and said, Mom, please come. I'm in the back of a squad car and they said that there was a shooting. I had a gun. I don't have a gun, Mom. I was at McDonald's. And I just think about if my son would have did like Dante did and wanted to get away because he was afraid, what would have happened? I'm hurt that there was a press conference saying they did everything right, because I just feel in my heart there was another way they could have handled the situation. I don't know if race was involved, but it raises serious questions about how this would have went down if these were white children walking home from McDonald's. They could have easily took the kids across the street back to McDonald's and asked McDonald's, were these kids here eating a few minutes ago? And they would have got the answer they were looking for. Another problem that I have is that they released this video yesterday of this shooting that my child and the rest of these mothers' children had nothing to do with. But they didn't release the footage of them arresting the kids. They didn't release the part that they had the kids. The kids were calm. They were saying little things because they're kids and they're being detained for no reason. So they said little things, but there was nothing. They had them. They were calm. They were cooperating. And out of the blue, they go, all right, everybody's under arrest. Put your hands behind your back. This was like within minutes, a long while of them having the kids there calmly. So.
No, y'all not putting my baby name up in y'all system. No Facebook Live.
I'm here.
Get my name and my photo.
That's okay. Record them motherfuckers and everything that they saying right now, because I promise y'all gonna have a lawsuit on y'all hands. You falsely put my child in that car and y'all handcuffed my baby. Go find who y'all looking for. If probably some little white kids running around this motherfucker
They
that
gone
was shooting,
now.
and
They're
y'all
whoever
all
they was
kids
looking
in the
for,
back
they
of this
gone.
car.
They
You're
gone.
not gonna do that, and I promise y'all gonna have a lawsuit on y'all hands.
Why is she
Give me your
screaming?
car.
No, hold on. Why is my baby screaming?
We need to get everyone identified.
No, give me your card. What are you doing? I don't have time to be fucking around with y'all. Because y'all playing fucking games. Make sure you got it on Facebook Live. Because I don't trust these motherfuckers for shit.
No, y'all not about to put my baby. Y'all not about to. I have everywhere.
Well, y'all know whatever video y'all can look at me. Y'all know our kids go.
Please, thank you.
Come put these motherfuckers on Facebook Live, sister.
Sergeant, we got Justin here. You got my ID?
Put my son re-traumatizing my motherfucking kid. Y'all better take y'all ass out there and do that shit to y'all kids, but y'all fucking with the wrong motherfucking kid, fucking with mine. 7251. Got my baby. Go show my baby in these handcuffs. Show my baby in these handcuffs. These bitches got my baby in handcuffs right now for no fucking reason. We got dogs and shit on our kids. Don't do that shit to your motherfucking kids.
It don't matter.
Got my baby wrist hurt and shit.
Can y'all get her out the car now?
Get that baby out that car. I ain't leaving till your baby out that car.
Hush, Justin.
They saying that they
Justin, your mama got this, okay?
They don't do this shit to their kids. They don't go out there where the fuck y'all live at. Do y'all do that shit to y'all kids where y'all live at? My baby got tears in his eyes. Y'all re-traumatizing our kids. Do that shit to y'all kids.
Like, let them out. It's okay.
My baby is fucking crying. Fuck y'all.
Fuck, bogus as fuck. Don't have shit. No fucking evidence. Goofy as fuck.
Exactly. They're just trying to make.
That's okay. Y'all gonna have a lawsuit. I want your card, every last one of y'all cards.
Y'all put 12-year-old and 15-year-old in fucking handcuffs. Like, I don't. That's.
And they ain't no threat. What threat did they pose to y'all? I bet you y'all don't even live over here. And y'all come over here, y'all do this to our kids.
I told you, we from Emmett Place. Of course they're gonna do that shit to our kids. That's what they did to my son. They're talking about something.
Record this little boy. They can run, they kids, they scared. Of course they gonna run. Let me see. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Your arms and stuff. You okay? I need all y'all. Come on. Let me see.
Ooh, little baby. You all right?
Did y'all getting him out too?
Y'all
how you call it? Can you? Yeah, look at my wrist. She got my baby crying and shit.
This is crazy.
Like, let Trayvon out. Trayvon's still in the car. Mom, Trayvon is still in the car.
How old are you?
12.
He's in the car.
He's in there. No, he's a kid in our community. For all these kids in the street. I'm not gonna hurt nobody's kids.
Which car is he in? Oh, this one. And we have another one in here.
I'm filing a lawsuit on their Watch this. I promise you that.
Okay.
Promise. Record him, girl.
This is a baby, y'all. This is a baby.
Kid. Yo, out here.
This is a baby.
Son of a bitches. You
This is a
son
baby.
of a bitches. Record him.
Look at this baby.
Hey, Santino, where's your mom at?
Don't worry about where the fuck his mama at. You weren't worried about that when you just put our child in a fucking handcuffs.
You good?
Come on.
You taking him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, boy.
Good evening, I'm Lindsay Brown. This is Nightcast. We start with the Maplewood Police Department defending its response to a shots fired call. As video posted to social media is getting national attention, police officials are praising the actions of their officers, but activists call it racism.
Got my baby in these handcuffs. These got my baby in handcuffs right now for no reason.
In this video, you're hearing local activist Tashira Garraway alongside other parents as officers release a group of kids from their squads last night. One of them, she says, is her son. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump on Twitter later shared the video stating the kids as young as 10 years old were detained and sat in the back of a police car for 2 hours. But in a news conference this afternoon, police disputed that timeline, saying it was less than half that. Callan Gray was there and spoke with the mother in that video.
Got my baby in handcuffs right now for no reason.
This video shared on social media shows parents upset arriving to the 1700 block of Cope Avenue in Maplewood Monday night.
Get that baby out that car.
Capturing officers taking handcuffs off of 4 children who police later confirmed are 10 to 16 years old.
I'm hurt. I'm just hurt that they treated my son like that.
Tashira Garraway, a well-known Twin Cities activist, says her 16-year-old son was on his way back from taking 2 12-year-olds and a 10-year-old to McDonald's when officers stopped them.
They have no idea what it's like as a mom to get a call like that from my son. To say, Mom, they have me in the back of a police car in handcuffs. For what reason? And I get there and they don't have a reason.
Maplewood police say at about 9:30 p.m. they'd received a report of shots fired. The person who made the complaint, police say, reported seeing 4 juveniles on a surveillance camera outside of their business.
You'll see them walking away from the camera.
The department sharing this footage the business owner gave them, which shows 4 people walking and what sounds like gunshots. When officers arrived,
Officers are involved in a fluid situation and it's dark outside. They're trying to determine exactly what happened.
Lieutenant Joe Steiner says they found 4 children nearby, and when they approached them,
2 ran from the scene and later voluntarily returned to speak with officers.
Steiner says there was no struggle and the 4 children cooperated. But after about 20 minutes, officers decided to handcuff them and place them in squads.
Through the investigation and developing new information, they believe that these juveniles were most likely involved in the shots fired incident, and that's why, with that new information, they were handcuffed and seated in the back of squad cars while the officers continued their investigation. That's standard procedure, and that's for the safety of the juveniles, the officers, and the public.
What changed to require handcuffs.
When we asked, Steiner wouldn't say what that additional information was.
How old are you? 12.
But after about another 20 minutes, he says the kids were released after a further review of additional surveillance footage showed they were not the juveniles caught on camera.
I don't understand why the kids couldn't continue just standing there and just continue waiting for whatever they wanted to do with their investigation. But instead, they decided to throw just out of the blue, okay, everybody's going to handcuffs.
Garraway, who met with police to review the body camera footage.
He's a kid in our community.
Describing it as traumatic.
I just don't think they understand that it might seem small to them. Putting kids in handcuffs and throwing them in the back of their car might seem small to them.
My baby is crying.
But this could go on with them. They could think about this for the rest of their life, what happened last night.
Lieutenant Steiner confirmed one of the kids was able to call a parent during this. He reiterated today these 4 children were never under arrest. He told us it is common practice to place handcuffs on someone who is not under arrest when the safety need arises to detain them. As for whether age is a factor in that, he says it depends on the circumstance. Garraway's attorney argued today, however, the officer's decision to handcuff and place the children in squads restricting their movement amounts to an arrest.
Well, Callan, police were fast to address this today, and we do know they determined that these kids were not the ones in the video. Are they still looking for anyone?
I asked that today, specifically whether they're still looking for 4 juveniles. The lieutenant said yes and told us they are still working to determine who was involved and what happened. Police say they have not found any shell casings nor guns in the area where they believe the shots were fired. Lindsay.
Callan Gray reporting. Thank you.